Okay, so let's start on this lab. This is your first lab on AI and ML machine learning course. Okay, so we'll start with Python. Most of the things that you have to do, that we actually do in machine learning, everything we do actually using Python. Okay, we have a wide range of Python libraries. Now, if you have some idea or introduction to Python programming language, that's fine. I'm just going to give you the working knowledge that you need to understand Python and how to work with Python. Okay. And I hope this lab will be enough for you to get yourself properly introduced so that you can work in the machine learning field. Okay. Achha, let's see. Is the screen clear? Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you go to your Google Classroom, now the notebook is actually provided here. Now, if you want to just view the file, you can directly view it from here. So that's your lab one. So 01. Okay, that's the lab one. So this is your overview of Python programming language. And you can download it from here. So if you want to download in your personal computer, you can download it from here. Now, so here you can actually see everything. Now, first of all, where to actually write the codes in Python. If you're using Python, where to write the codes. Now, let's jump. So let's see. Now, to start with, so the first of all that I have already asked you to install Anaconda. I hope more or less all of you have Anaconda installed. And for this class, please open your Anaconda. This is important. Now, I will ask you to code something in the middle, so you will need it. Now, in the Anaconda, you will find two things. Particularly, I'm going to show you a little bit later. One thing is Spider. Another thing is Jupyter Notebook. Okay. So if you, in your MATLAB, we used to code in two different files. One was .m file. If you remember, that's why we directly write a script. Okay, we used to call it a script. And there was another type of file that is called the MLX file. And this was the live script, two different types. Now, live script is more of creating a notebook type. Okay, just like I'm writing here something like a notebook. So code as well as some text, everything should be there. That's what the notebook is for. So this is the more recent version. Okay, so this is the notebook type, and mfile is the same old classical writing script. So now same thing is actually available in Python as well. In Python, instead of mfile, we have .py file. Okay, .py file, short form for Python. So any Python code will come with the extension .py at the end after the name of the file. And it also has notebook that is called IPython notebook, IPyNB file. Okay, .IPython notebook file. So if you have downloaded the file, if you have downloaded the lab manual that I provided you, you will see the file is of the type IPython notebook. Okay. The rest of the labs, will there be any problem if you use Capon notebook? আচ্ছা আমি আসতেছি, আমি এখনো যাচ্ছি। Now, so you have two different types of file. Now, for Spider, this actually works with .py file. Okay, if you want to work with .py file, and it looks actually exactly like MATLAB. Okay, I'm going to show you right now a little bit later. So Spider actually just like your MATLAB, and here you can actually work with .py file. And another approach, Jupyter Notebook, just by the same. This is actually where IPython notebook comes from. Okay, just in the name, IPython notebook. So this is one way to write the code, and this is the most commonly used, and this is the one I will use most of the time. And there are other ways to how you can actually write the Python, because Python is open. It is not like MATLAB, which is actually only using MATLAB you can actually work. So there are other platforms where you can write Python code. For instance, Colab. Okay, it is supported by Google. So if you search in the Google Colab, it will automatically appear. Okay, and you can use your Google account to actually write your code in Google. So in Colab, the Python is also, the file also comes in IPython notebook format. Okay, IPy notebook we use this. So these two are the most common, but for this one Colab, you will have to need net. Okay, you have to be connected with the internet to use Colab. Achha. So I definitely suggest to actually install Anaconda because it is important that you can actually work with in your personal computer and your local engine. So definitely install Anaconda. And if you want to prefer some other things, like there are other options as well. One option is PyCharm. Yes, one option is PyCharm. You can also use that. And then you have Visual Studio. Okay, Visual Studio. You can also do it in Kaggle as well. Okay. These things are less used. Okay, these things are more commonly used, and you can actually use this one. Whichever you prefer, that's fine. Everything is fine. Okay. It's about writing the code. It doesn't matter which platform you are using. Okay, so let me show you a little bit. So now if I actually go for Anaconda Navigator, okay, so this is the Anaconda Navigator. If you have installed Anaconda, it will come after you install Anaconda, you will find this one. So if I go to Anaconda Navigator, a new window will open. Follow the process. Just remember the process is very simple. Watch it one time. Mm. So this is the Anaconda Navigator, and you can see there are lots of different apps. So this is your Jupyter Notebook. Yes, another version is Jupyter Lab. So I personally prefer Jupyter Notebook more. And you can see there are PyCharm as well, but you have to install it. There is R Studio, that is for R programming language. This is another statistical computing software, very popular, just like MATLAB. And you can also see a Spider here. Okay, so let's launch this one, Spider, just to show you that one as fast. So if you launch a Spider, this is for your Python. Uh, the Spider is initializing. When you install Anaconda, everything will be more or less, all the libraries will be installed. So this is your um, Spider. Okay, and you can see it is exactly just like your MATLAB. Okay, from file, if I say new file, so this is how you actually write your code, just like your MATLAB, you write your code. And this one, okay, this one is for your variables. You can see the variables here. And this is like the command window that you have in MATLAB. So if I write a is equals to 3, so this is actually run, and you can see the integer name of the variable is a and value is 3, and everything is appearing here. So let's say b is equals to. So now I have a list. Okay, you can see the type is list. List is just like your array. So you can create anything here, and you can, just like your M file, you can write your code here. So this is exactly the same. So I'm not going to show you. I'm not going to do it here. So I hope it will be very easy. If you are familiar with MATLAB, you can directly use it here. Okay, exactly the same configuration. Now let's close it. Any question? Anyone? Do you have any question?
No, sir.
Okay. If you have any question, let me know. Okay. So let's close it.
Sir, is
Now,
it
another
okay if I
one.
do it on Google Colab for today?
Yeah, fine. So this one is Jupyter Notebook. Okay. And most of the things that I will provide will come in Jupyter Notebook. If you want to like create a new file, that's where you like complete a new function, new class, things like that. That's when you use a PyFile. For exercise, okay, when you try to describe something, so you can see here, I have lots of things that I have described. Then I have some code blocks. So these things actually looks much easier when you have a notebook. Okay, so that's why we are actually using notebook for most of the tasks. So this is your home page. Okay, home page, and now see it has opened in Google Chrome, but you don't need the net connection. Okay, so and this is the like the directory that I have fixed. you can actually change the directory. And if you go here, you can actually link to the root folder, whatever directory you want to use. And these are some of the 4 files that I have. I have lots of different files. You can see IPython notebook extension. So all the files will actually appear here. So in the directory, the files that you have will have here. Now, if you have downloaded this one, like for instance, this file, and if you want to open it in your Jupyter notebook, so make sure that this directory, the directory that you have here, and that directory is the same. Okay. If they are in the same directory, okay. So if you can check from the folders where it is. So if they are in the same directory, then you see your file here. Okay. Acha. Or let's say, for instance, you can see this new, if I create this one, Python 3, IPyKernel, I can create a new notebook from here. Now you can see there is another thing, Julia. Julia is like a different version, especially for numerical computing, but we are not going to use Julia. We are going to use, so this is your notebook, okay, Jupyter notebook, and you can, this is the name. Let's say this is my lab 01. Okay, I have created here, and a file is already created. Okay, if I go to my original root folder, Jupyter notebooks, and I will see lab 01. Okay, this is already created here. Okay, so now if I want to code it, so make sure try to follow my instruction and it will be very clear. So if I want to write something here, let's just say a is equals to 3,5. Okay, and if I run it, okay, if I run this button, this section, this is called a cell. Okay, again, this is called a cell. This cell will run. So when you write the code, don't put everything in one cell, rather use different cells. Okay, so when you run this, another cell will open, or you can use this plus sign to create new cell as much as you want. Okay, so you can see when I write the code, everything is in a separate cell. Don't put everything in one cell. Use separate cell and you can see easily visualize everything. That is one thing. Now, if you want to use shortcut, like keyboard shortcut, don't want to click this one again and again. Just click on this one, not inside, just outside, And you can see the blue sign and then click A. Okay, I'm just typing A in the keyboard and new cells are opening. Is it clear? আমার কথা বোঝা যাচ্ছে?
Yes,
So,
sir.
Yes,
so
sir.
everyone, try please open your Jupyter notebook or open Google Colab, either this one or Google Colab. Let's see. Let's go to Google Colab. Okay. So this is your Google Colab. This is I open. Okay, and let's just go. And if you want to upload a file, open notebook, upload notebook. So if you have downloaded that file, you can upload the notebook here and you can visualize. And I am just doing open notebook because I already have it here somewhere. So overview of Python programming language. So this one, okay. So this one is created. So it will appear now. So please open the file in either in Jupyter Notebook or Google Colab or any other notebook options. Okay, so you can see this is my, everything is here. Okay. And here we also have the cell. Okay, so like this is the cell. And you can see if you want to create a new cell, you can see there is plus code. If I write plus code, a new cell will appear. If I write plus text, a new text will appear. Also here, if I want to edit a cell, you can see this is the code version and there is markdown. If I click markdown, I want to write. Okay, and if I run it now, you can see now it is written as a text, not a code. Okay, I want to make it a title, for instance, heading. So this is like the heading. The heading, hello. Okay, now it is hello. So if you want to make it like this way, so this is important because you can see here when I write these things, you can see this is if you look at here, everything is right in a context, in a contents are there. So when you create a professional, like when you submit your code for your project, you should actually do it like this way, much more organized way. Everything should be, and the content should be clear here so that everyone can jump from one section to another section. What is the initialization? What is the data processing? What is the machine learning algorithm? What is the results? What is the visualization? Those things should be organized properly. Okay, so you will learn gradually. Make sure you actually carefully watch what I am doing, and it is very simple to learn. Okay, nothing difficult. So I am assuming everyone has opened that, right? Everyone has opened either Jupyter Notebook or Colab. For Colab, if you want to run it, you can just run it from here. Okay. And if you want to, again, if you want to do it like this way, Control Enter. If you want to do a shortcut, Control plus Enter at the same time. Okay. And this is run. Now you can see I have run it, but it is not showing the output variable. If I am to show it, I just have to write it like this way. You don't have to write print, just write B, and you can see the output is shown as this. Okay. And this number is the sequence you are actually following the notebook. So I hope everything is clear by now, and you understand how to actually work in notebook. And let's start our discussion on Python. Any question? Anyone having any question?
Sure. I didn't see the output. How did you find the output?
How do you find the output?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So let's say
I was trying to open the software. That's why I didn't see.
Where do you find? I didn't understand your question. Where do you find the
Output, sir.
output?
Output of B.
Output of B.
Yes.
Yeah, this is output, right?
Yes. Where did you type to find the output? Because when you wrote the input 3, B is equal to 3. So where did you run to find the output? Because first of all, when you run the value of A.
Say for instance, here A is like this array, right? List, right? So A contains a variable contains this list. If I click it, it is not going to show. But if I just write A, it is going to display it in the output section.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay, just it will. If you just write A, it will display everything in the. So whatever you write here, if it is not a definition like this way, if you just write the variable name, it is going to show you. If I write C, and it is going to show you that name C is not defined. Okay, so it directly happens. Whatever you write in the cell, it is going to show you, display it directly. You don't have to write print or anything like that. Is it okay?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Any other question? Okay, let's go back. Okay, so let's start with our Python. Now, when you want to learn a programming language, there are two things that is actually important to understand. One is the data structures, okay, and the syntax. Okay. So data structure means actually how you represent data in that particular programming language. How you represent data. You can have different types of data, and how to represent that in that particular programming language, how to work with that data, how to modify the data in that language, that's actually different. So that falls under data structure. And how we actually do those things, that's fall under the syntax. Okay. So Python has one type of syntax. MATLAB has a different type of syntax. And data structures are more or less the same, but they have different functionalities. So that's why you need to learn these two specifically. And if you understand these two, you have the basic understanding of the programming language. Okay. So we'll start. Let me show you with a comparison with the MATLAB. So I'm assuming you have a very good understanding of the MATLAB programming language. Okay, so the data structure that you have used in MATLAB, if I write it down, you have used array, right? You have used array, one-dimensional array, just look like this. Yes. You have used matrix, two-dimensional array, or multidimensional. It can be n-dimensional. That was like a matrix like this, elements like this. Okay. Then you had character array that actually looked like something like this, single quote. You had a string array, okay, that actually fall under double quote. Character array and string array were different in MATLAB. What is the difference between character array and string array? কেউ বলতে পারবে in MATLAB? What is the difference? Any idea, anyone?
See,
Yes?
quote, sir. Quote, I think.
What is the difference between character array and string array in MATLAB? Achha. Now, in character array, this is, you can change it, you can modify it. String array, you cannot modify. Okay. So MATLAB string is like in like a number, you cannot change it. So you also seen, so character array, string array, you have seen cell array, something that we have placed inside curly braces. I will cell array, then you have a structured data type. You have write a name, then use a dot function to write a structure. Then you have used table. Okay. It has some rows and it has some columns, table like this way. Okay. These are some of the things that we have seen in MATLAB. Now, to compare with this one, what do we have in Python to represent data? So we need this different type of data structure to represent different types of data. For instance, when you have a numerical data like this way, let's say a list of student ID. So let's say 101, 102, 103, 105, 106 like this way. So list of student ID. Okay. So I want to put everything inside an array. That's where the array comes from. I don't need a structure for that. I don't need a string for that. I don't need table for that. I just need some just list. That's why the simplest data structure that's called array. In Python, we have something that is called list, the equivalent to that one. The name is different. We call it a list. The functionalities are also different than the original MATLAB, and we'll see quite different. But the representation is exactly the same. Inside a third bracket, you create a list and put the items there. The difference you will learn a little bit later. Now, then you had matrix, but in Python, the basic Python does not support anything like matrix. Okay, basic Python does not support anything like matrix. But there is a catch. Python library, the Python actually offers different libraries that are actually built, designed to actually improve the Python programming and make it easier for you to code. And there is something that is called NumPy array. And this NumPy array falls under the NumPy library. We'll learn it in the second lab. This is exactly equivalent to your matrix. Okay, MATLAB's matrix and NumPy array is just exactly equivalent. You have the similar function. Okay. So we are going to show you later in the second lab. Then you have character and a string. For both of these things, in Python is what we call an string. You can use you can use single quote or double quote both to represent a string in Python. Okay, there is no difference. In MATLAB, there was difference, but in Python, there is no difference. So let's say I want to write the names of the students. So let's say 101. I can write it like this way, Harry. 102. Let's say this is Ron. Then we have Hermione. Then we have Lily. Okay, like this way, for instance. So when you want to store some list of let's say strings, name of city, name of the countries. Okay, you need a string to represent that kind of data. Okay, that's why you have a different type of data structure, string. And this data structure like string have other different functionalities than your list. Now cell array, actually cell array is actually works like list in Python. Python list actually works like cell array. Okay. Why? Because Python's list can actually take both numerical value as well as string value. Okay, that was the characteristics of cell array. You can have a numeric value or a string value both inside a cell array, but not in array. Python's array are numeric array. MATLAB's array were numeric array. For other things, you need cell array, but list actually can contain both. So I can have 1, 0, 10, and then say Bruce. Okay, like this way. I can have a string inside a list. Okay, both will do. Achha. Now, then Python also supports some other data types. For instance, that one is called a tuple, another is called sets. These two actually does not have anything in MATLAB. These are unique to Python. You will not find anything similar to that in MATLAB. So tuple and sets we'll learn a little bit later. Now, just for structured data type, Python offers something that is called a dictionary. So what is a dictionary? And to represent dictionary, you use second bracket. To represent tuple, you use first bracket. Are you guys following? আমার কথা কি বোঝা যাচ্ছে?
Sir, for list, if we want to write string, then do we give third bracket or quotation mark?
If you put everything inside a string, বুঝিনি আরেকবার বলো তো কোনটা কি বলতেছিলা?
স্যার পাইথনের লিস্টের জন্য আমরা যখন নিউমেরিক ভ্যালু ইউজ করব তখন তো আমরা থার্ড ব্র্যাকেট দিব, কিন্তু যখন স্ট্রিং ইউজ করব
হ্যাঁ।
তখন কি আমরা কোটেশন মার্ক দিব নাকি আবার থার্ড ব্র্যাকেট?
স্ট্রিংটা থাকবে কোটেশনের মধ্যে, বাট লিস্টটা ইয়া হবে হচ্ছে থার্ড ব্র্যাকেটের মধ্যে। বোঝা গেছে?
আচ্ছা,
সো থার্ড ব্র্যাকেট কোটেশন থাকবে হচ্ছে তোমার স্ট্রিংটা রিপ্রেজেন্টের জন্য, আর লিস্টটা রিপ্রেজেন্টের জন্য তোমার থার্ড ব্র্যাকেট থাকবে। If I want to write just a single string, let's say just a single string, let's say just name, I can write it like this, Asif. So this is like a string. But if I want multiple string together, let's say Asif, then Namaz, like this way, I need to put everything inside a list like this way. Is it clear? Is it okay?
yes sir, yes.
Now, what is a dictionary? We have seen tuple, sets, and dictionary. Let's say if I want to do something like relational argument. Relational argument means, for instance, this is the student ID, but it does not specifically say that 101 represents Harry. Okay, the name of the student is, let's say, Harry. The name of the student 102 is Ron. 103 is Hermione, like this way. This relational statement to represent something like this is not there. ঠিক আছে? So এই জিনিসটা রিপ্রেজেন্ট করার কোনো ওয়ে পাইথনের নাই, because these are very simple data structure. These are just list, one dimensional list, and you cannot represent relation between two lists that way. So relation is a factor that we need when you need more important, more advanced data structure. You need to have some relation between items. Okay. To show things like that, Python has two. The primary one is called the primary one is what we call a tuple. Tuple actually puts everything inside like this way, 101, then in the bracket, then you have the name, and put everything inside first bracket, then comma, let's say 102, then you have Ron. Okay, and dot dot dot, then put everything inside a, let's say, list. Now you can say, okay, everything inside a tuple is just like the name and the student ID. Now is it more clear to represent the things than this one? Is it okay? Do you understand why you need tuple?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this is one way to represent data relation. but it is actually does not say the name of 101 is actually Harry. It's just write it like a pair. Okay, I'm just creating a pair. You can also have more than one. So you can also, let's say 101, then you have Harry, just a name. Let's say add something like CGPA. Let's say his CGPA is 3.7. You can also have more than 2 elements. You can have 3 elements, 4 elements inside everything. And you can put everything inside a list. Okay, a list can contain another list, another string, another tuple, everything. So this is one type of relation, but very simple relation you can represent using tuple. To get more advanced like this way, for instance, I want to, let's say, I have a dictionary. Let's say dictionary 101, dictionary of student access. I can put everything inside, let's say, a curly braces. I can say name. What is the name? Let's say name hoche Harry. Okay. Then what is the year? I can say year is 4th year. Then what is the section? I can say section is C. Okay. Then let's say, okay, so let's see things like that. Let's say for example, for now. Okay. Now you see, so this is like a just like you have your dictionary, English dictionary, it is like the same. You have something that is called a key value pair. Okay. The key represents the word, the value represents the meaning, you can say, the meaning of the key, the meaning of the word. So here you can see you have the name, you are specifically saying that the name is this, the year is this, the section is this, like this way. So this is what the dictionary actually comes from. You can have more more representation, better representation using a dictionary. So if you want to have some variable like this way, and you have more relations to show, you can show those things much more clearly using a dictionary. Is it clear? What is a dictionary and how it looks like?
Yes, sir.
So we have seen dictionary, and now for table, if you have like lots of students, like student 1, student 2, student 3, student 4, lots of different 150 students, you cannot put everything separately in a dictionary like this way. That will require a lot, many dictionaries. Easier is to put everything inside a table. Let's see student ID, year, then CGPA, isn't it? Now let's say hometown. Okay, now it looks much more clear, right? Now we can just put 1, 2, 3, 4 like this way. Put everything inside a table. That is much more flexible to work with. So this kind of, like what we call is to table, and we have seen this in MATLAB. In Python, the Python programming language, the basic Python programming language does not offer anything for table. So, but again, Python libraries are there, additional library that you can install. Okay, some of them are installed already. If you have installed Anaconda, NumPy is already installed. If you're working with Colab, NumPy is already installed because these are very fundamental to Python. So for that one, you have something that is called a data frame. Okay, this is equivalent to your table in MATLAB. So same thing, we'll just call it a data frame, and it comes from the Pandas library. You will learn in the next lab. Okay, so these are the basic data structure of Python programming language. Is it clear? কারো কোনো question আছে? Any question from anyone? Okay, so we have seen, let's summarize everything. We have seen the basic data structures, the what do actually represent, and we have seen those things. So first we have something called a list, and we use a third bracket for this one. The second one we have that is called a tuple, and we use a first bracket for this one. The third one we have something called a string. We can use first single quote or double quote. Both will do. Number 4, we have something called a dictionary, and we use curly braces for this one. Okay. First number, next, this 4 is something we are going to learn today. String, tuple, and dictionary. Sets up, you don't need sets for now. And more advanced ones like NumPy array. NumPy array is also represented using this, and number 6 is data frame. It is a table, it's completely different, we'll see. So these two we'll learn in the second lab. Okay, in lab 2 you will learn these two. For today we're going to understand the syntax. You have seen the data structures and what they represent. Now you're going to know, you have to know the syntax behind it. Okay, how to use list, how to create list, how to modify items in the list, okay, things like that. So let's say, for instance, one of these student ID 10, let's say there was 104, but 104 ID left, okay, for instance, then you have to remove it from the list. Okay, how do you do that? These things, okay, how to modify the items in a list, these things you need to understand. Okay, acha. Any question so far? Any question? Acha. So let's start with list. Let's start with list. Acha. Now, list is like very common and the primary data structure that you have. And we actually use it to create some items, put some items inside. Let's say A is equals to. Now create a list like this way in your own, whatever you are using. If you're using Colab or Jupyter Notebook, create a list like this way. Don't just copy it from whatever I have provided. Create a new cell and create your own list. Okay, create your own list. So let's say I give something one, if let's start with something for it. Okay, let's 4 is for now. So my list, okay, have 4 items, and you can see I have some string as well as some numeric value as well. Let's do something interesting. I can also put a list here. Let's do this as well. For a list can also contain another list. That's the interesting. A list can also contain another list. Okay, I'm going to discuss this a little bit later. So I have, let's say, for instance, I have created a list. Okay. Now, to understand the things, so I have you created a list in your notebook?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to ask you do some tasks in your list a little bit later. So make sure you have that. Now, first thing you have to understand is indexing. So what is indexing? Indexing means the index of the items that you have in the list. Now, in Python, the index starts from 0. In Python, the index starts from 0. In MATLAB, index starts from 1. So that's the difference. But you have to remember 0, 1, 2. This should be 3, 4, 5 or just 3.
Sir, just 3.
Yeah, it's just 3 because the whole list will be considered as an item. Okay, so the first thing is 0 indexing. So Python, in Python, indexing starts from 0. Never forget that. Don't mix it up with MATLAB. Now, so if I want to extract something like this way, if you write in your Python notebook, if you write A0, again, this should be a third bracket. Okay. So in MATLAB, we used to call something using a first bracket, but in Python, it should be inside a third bracket. These things I'm telling you to be careful, otherwise you will later face problems. So if you write A of 0, and it should show you Trudeau. Okay, so let me show you. Just so so let's say for instance I'm here. I define something like this way. So I run it. So if I run it, so this is A. The variable is saved as A. And if you write A of 0, okay, don't have to write print. And if you just run it, you can see the first element is going to appear. If you write A of 2, the third element is going to appear like this way. So I hope you will not have any problem in how to run cells in Jupyter Notebook. So whenever you are trying to do it in separate cells. Click this one and I can create as many as cells as I want. So do it in separate cells. Okay. So practice a little bit by yourself. So now, so we have seen indexing. So A of 0, A of 1, A of 2. Now, if you write A of 4, what is it going to show? A of 4 লিখলে কি দেখাবে?
Sir, it will show error.
Yeah, what is the error?
Index error.
Index range out of range, right? So it is going to show you an error, and you should remember the errors because it will help you debug later. Okay, when you write a code and your code is not working, you should understand what is the error message. Okay, so that you can actually debug very easily. So you can see A of 4, it is saying that index out of range. That means one of the index is just not range. It is not within the range. So A has maximum index is 3. So you cannot have anything 4. That's why it is showing you the error. So this is indexing, but Python actually offers something more, something interesting, that is also called negative indexing. Python also supports, this also supports negative indexing. So the last item I can write using -1. This can be -2. This can be -3. This can be -4. Okay. So if I write here A of -1, okay, this is going to show this whole list 2, 3, and 10. Okay. Is it okay? So Python also supports negative indexing. You can also call the elements, get the elements out using negative index. Okay. From the negative direction, -1, -2, this way. And this is useful, very useful in different tasks. Acha. Any question? Okay. Now let's say, for instance, I want to get this one. I want to get this element out. What should be my code? What should be my code? I can go to the last element, -1. Then I can say 0, 1, the first element. I'm using both the negative index, positive index simultaneously. I can also write like this way, A of 3 of 1. This is also going to do. Okay, both will give you the same answer. This is going to return 3. Check whether it is working or not. And one thing you should be careful here is that you see, when I'm doing multiple indexing, this is multi-level. Okay, I am doing multi-level indexing if you have something like that. And because you see, in matrix, we used to write like this way, A of 3, 1. This is the matrix format. This is the matrix format that we have. But Python list does not have the matrix format. You will find that in NumPy array, but not in list. Okay, so in list you have to have multi-level indexing that way, one after the other. Okay. Is it okay? Is it working? কাজ করতেছে?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we have seen 0. Python indexing starts from 0. It has positive index, it has negative index, and you can actually extract element using multi-level indexing. So, and this type of list, this is called a list of lists. List of lists. When you have another list inside, we call it a list of lists. So you have seen indexing. Now let's see slicing. Slicing means, for instance, let's say I want to have the first 2 elements. I want to have, let's say, the first 2 elements out. So my code should be like this. A of the first element 0 is to 1. Okay. Now this sign stands for is to. So where I start, where I go. So this is my starting point. This is my ending point. But this is not going to show you your desired output. See, is it showing you the desired output?
So it will not count the last one.
It is not counting the last one.
Last
Why?
one.
So Python list, Python indexing, this is something that is called upper bound exclusive. If you have in your intermediate, if you are familiar with this sign, mone ache? You have this sign, you also had another type of sign this way. So upper bound exclusive means it does not include the last element. So when you have 0 is to 1, it is not going to count the 1. It's going to count up to 1, before 1, not including 1. That's why it is going to show you only pseudo. Okay. So if you want both, you have to write 0 is to 2. This is very uncomfortable. But this is actually in Python, and it makes it very uncomfortable because you are writing 2, but you are only going to get the first 2. Frodo and Shire, like this way. Okay. So is it clear? This is a very common mistake that we actually make sometimes. So make sure you are careful about this one. Any slicing that you try to do, it is always upper bound exclusive. Now, so this way, if I want to slice A of, let's say, from -1 into, if I want to slice in the opposite way, let's say I want to slice the last 2 elements. So it will be, if I want to slice in the opposite way, -1, -2. So how should I write? -1 is to -3, right? If I want to get the last 2 elements out, -1, -2, -3. This is also going to show you some, it is not going to give you the desired output. Why? Is it giving you the desired output?
No, sir.
Why? It
Yes,
is
sir.
giving you what? An empty list, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
It is giving you an empty list. The reason is, you see, this sign actually means is to, -1 is to in the forward direction. Go forward. It never look back. So when you start from -1, let's say in the list, you start from here. And by the, when you put the is to sign, it is only looking forward. So when you write -3, it does not have -3 in this way. That's why it is not going to show you anything. Okay. So what do you have to do? You have to write -3 is to -1. Sorry, -2 is to -1 দিলে হবে না. So you just have to write this up to end. Then it is going to show you the last 2 elements. Now is it working? Is it working
Yes,
now?
sir.
Yes,
Yes,
it
sir.
should be working now. So let's say if I want to go to up to end, I just have to keep the last portion empty. That means I'm going to up to the end. Let's say if I write like this way, then what is this going to show? এটা কি দেখাবে?
First
This
and
is-
second element.
Yeah, first element and second element. Frodo and Shire. This is going to show the first 2 elements. So from start, so this means nothing. Nothing means from start. Start from the beginning up to 2. So excluding the 2, up to 2 means excluding the 2. So first 2 elements. Okay. So I can always, using this sign, I can always go forward. But what if I want to go backward? Okay. I can also do that. So the syntax for that one would be like this: -1 is to -3. Then I have a third parameter, I can say -1. So this third item, so you can see this was a start and end, and that this last item actually represents the jump step. Okay, 1 means I am jumping one step. Minus means I want to jump in the reverse direction. Now it is going to give you the output. Check in your notebook whether it is giving you the output or not.
So can you repeat it again?
Yeah,
The jump step, can you repeat this one again?
so repeat.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's say I have something like this 2, 10, 5, 6, 7, 120, like this way. Okay, let's do it on the simplest first. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I write, I want to start from P of 0 is to end, 0 is to, let's say, 5 is to, by default value is 1. If I write 2, that means it is going to jump 2 steps at a time. It is going to show you first 2, the second will be 5, then it is going to jump to 7, up to 5. So 0 up to 5. So 0 up to 5. But not every element, because the jump step is 2. It is going to jump 1 step further. So it is not going to go to the next element, but 1 step. So this is the jump step. Is it okay? I can also go, if I want to go in the reverse way, let's say, right? Let's say I want to start from -1. This is your -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7. I want to go to -1 to -6. This is going to give you an error because it is not the proper direction. What I can write, b -1 is to -6. I want to go this way with a jump step of -1. So that means I want to go 1 step at a time. Now it is going to give you the error. If I write instead of like this, so if I write -1 is to -6 is to -2, then it is still go, but it is going to go with 1 step jump like this. Is it clear?
Yes,
You can do 3, you can do 4, whatever the jump step you need. Any question? Anyone? So this is your slicing. You can slice some array, some elements from an array from a list using this way. You sometimes need this thing, so make sure you are careful. Most important part is this. Okay, upper bound explosive. This is something you have to be careful about. Now, then you can have something that is item as. Item assignment means, for instance, let's say you have this array and I want to change this item. Okay, I want to change this item. So this is the holding the index 2, right? So I can call it like this way. If I say a of 2, just like this, it is going to give me 200. Okay, it is going to give the result 200. But let's say I want to change it. A of 2, I want to make it, let's say, for instance, another string, Gandalf. Okay. So if I do it like this way, this equal sign will come as an item assignment. If you do this, you will see the A list that you have has changed, and third element is now Gandalf. Check, is it working or not? Is it working?
yes, sir.
Sir.
Anyone having any problem? If you're having any issue, let me know. You can also share the screenshot. I will discuss. Achha. So this is how you perform item assignment. Now let's say I want to do something like this. I had previously, I could not get the 4th index. It is not there, but let's say I want to add new item there. So if I want to write a of 4 equals to, let's say, for instance, Gandalf Grey. Now check whether it is working or not. A of 4 equals to Grey. Now is it working or not?
So,
কাজ করতেছে?
no, sir.
No, it is giving you an
working,
error,
sir.
right?
Index 7.
Index
Yeah.
7.
So list has some space fixed when you have created. Okay, this item assignment does not give you the permission to extend the list. This permission does list item assignment, it does not have this permission. That's why you are unable to do it that way. You have to have something different to do that. Achha. So this is about item assignment. So if only within the list that you have already defined, you can change an item using this kind of item assignment. Okay, you can put another list there, another string there. That's fine. Is it okay? Any question?
Sir,
Yes.
when we wrote A to equal Gandalf, then
Hmm.
was the A string supposed to change 200 to Gandalf?
Yes.
Sir, in my case, it didn't change. It is still the same after running the code.
Let me see. Okay. Achha, let me share. Can you see this screen?
Yes, sir.
So you have something like this, A of equals to like this, right?
Yes, sir.
Now this is my A. I make A of 2 is equals to Gandalf. Now A is like this. It is not happening to you?
Sir, after writing A to equal Gandalf, then you ran the code, right?
Yes. Did you run this one?
Yes, sir. But I have a few extra lines which include some other indexes. I think I need to remove those ones
Achha,
first.
share your screen. Just share your screen and let me see. Here it is.
Sir, sure.
Run it. Create a new cell. Last code. Create a new cell. Write A. Just write A. Just write A and run it. See, it is now Gandalf.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Yes, sir. Is it okay? It should work.
Yes, sir.
You probably have something different, done something different. Yes. So we have seen item assignment. Okay. Now, so we are here, item assignment. Now, you can ask this question, how can I actually add some element here? We are previously unable to do that. So how can we actually add something here? There was the question. So by default, you cannot actually do it. You have to get something, you have to do something different to do that. So what is it? So this is where methods come from. So methods is like built-in function. In MATLAB, you had different built-in function available in your matrix. You can do flipping, rotating. Yes, sir. Then you had find k, max k, sum k, many things, many different functions you had, built-in functions. So similarly, Python also supports built-in functions, but very few of number. In MATLAB, you have hundreds of difference, but in Python, you have very limited. Okay, and we call those things methods instead of built-in function. We never use built-in function. We call methods. Now, in Python, we create everything like an object. When you created A, for instance, this one we have created a list object. We'll talk about object at the end of this class. Now, to see what are the methods that are available to the list object, you just have to write directory of A. Okay, directory of A. If you write it, you are going to see something. Let me show it here. going on and on and on. So if I write this one, so if you have written directory of A, so if you write dir of A, directory of A, it is going to show you everything. Now ignore the first one where you have this underscore, okay, on the left and right. These are actually a bit different, something we'll see later. Forget about this one, the last few where you don't have any underscore. And you can see these are the methods that are available. First one is called append. Then you have clear. Then you have copy, count, extend, index, things like that. All of you getting that? সবার আসছে?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
We can actually, these functions, these built-in methods actually supports many things. And you can check the documentation for detail. I'm going to show you a couple of them. Let's say, for instance, now calling the method it is a little bit different in Python. Let's say I have the list A. If I want to call a method on this list, I have to write A, then a dot, then the name. The first one name was append. So I write A dot append. Is it okay? So A dot append, then what do I want to append? Then you should have a parenthesis. You must have a parenthesis to apply a method. Okay, this is a must. Now, inside the append, what do you want to append? তুমি কি add করতে যাচ্ছ to the list? Let's say I want to add a name to the list. Okay, I wanted to add, let's say, Gray. Now, if you have write this code, run this code, A dot append, you will see A has changed and Gray is appended to your list, and the list size has now increased. Another item has been appended to the end of the list. Give it a try and see if it is working or not. The list you have created by yourself, try to append something to it. Anything. You can append a new list there as well. Is it working?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is how we actually increase the size of the size of the array. And this is a formal way to do it in method. And there is another shortcut. I'll show you a little bit later. So this is one method. There are other methods as well. You can see clear, copy, count. Let's say if I want to reverse it, if you write A dot reverse, okay, I just want to reverse it. I don't have any input argument to it. So, but you have to just close the parenthesis, nothing inside. And you see your A will be reversed. Yes, 256. Any question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir,
Yes.
can we specify the index with the function append in
Can
each
you see?
list? Can we specify the index?
Oh, not index. You cannot specify the index. When you use
Yes, sir.
append, it is always going to append in the last,
Okay, sir. Thank you.
not in a particular index. It is going to append in the last. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So if you check A dot reverse, it is going to reverse the array. Reverse the array that you have. Try and see is it working or not. Now
Yes,
the
sir,
one
it's
you are
working.
asking, okay, this is working. Now the one you are asking, ID 256, you are asking to insert something actually in a particular element. For this one, you cannot use append, but you can use something that is called insert. You see there is another function, insert here. So my original A was this. Okay, let's say this was my original A. Okay, so I have So I have 0, 1, 2, 3, three element. And inside, in this place of 3, I want to, in this index, 3 in third index, I want to insert something. So you can use this method a.insert. This is the first position in 3. In the third index, I want to place Aragon here. Now you can see in the third index, Aragon is placed. If I want to go further, let's say for instance, now 1, 2, 3, before 3. So now I a.insert. This is going to insert in that location and shift it towards the right. Other elements will be shifted right. So let's say in the first index, I want to write something. Let's say I write Bilbo. Okay. So if I do it, let's say, let's see the A. Now you can see fill, I wrote it previously. Now you can see you have to make sure your sequence is right. If you write it before, then it will actually change the direction, change the sequence. So if you insert something in 0, you have inserted that element in that index, and all the others that you had, it is just pushed rightwards. Is it okay? Did you get your answer?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So there are many other functions you can check by yourself. Okay, so you have seen append, you have seen reverse. So if you don't have anything inside, you can just keep it blank, but you have to put it. If you don't put the parenthesis, it is going to show you another error. Okay, so this is about the methods that you have. You can see some other examples I think I have provided in the notebook. You can check those things as well, these methods. Okay, so you can check the other methods as well. Okay, and one thing you see when you are performing some method on it, A is changing, right? A is changing. So whenever you're performing append, the original array is changing. So this property is called mutate object. So a list is a mutable object. Your list is a mutable object because it changes. Okay, this will become important a little bit later. We'll see. Any question from list? Kar kono question ache? Any question? So I believe we have it is okay. So you have seen how are the syntax of using list, and these things actually the way you can actually indexing, the slicing. This is common for others as well. We are going to see it later. So these things are very similar to other cases as well. A little bit different will be there, and we are going to show you. So you have seen the one of the primary data structure list. Now let's see something called tuple. Okay, this is very similar to list. The only difference is that this is immutable. Okay, this was mutable object, but it is not mutable. That means you cannot change it after you create it. Okay, let's first create a list. Let's first create a tuple like this way. Okay, let's see. I have to create, let's say tuple T is equals to, I create a tuple using like this way. Let's say my name is Asif, and I'm from Rangpur. Okay, so I have created a tuple like this way. Okay, so you use a first bracket to create a tuple. Okay, just the only difference, and it can have 3 item, 4 item, anything like this. Now, if you want to index it, so T of 0, this is just the same. T of 0, it will return you the name, first element. Okay, you can also have -1. Everything works just as before. Okay, you can have your indexing, you can have your slicing. So the indexing that you saw previously, this is the same. The slicing is the same. But the third one we saw, that was the item assignment. If I want to write, let's say T of 1, item assignment. So item, the last third one that we saw is the item assignment. This is not allowed. So if I write T of 1, let's say now I live in Dhaka. If I say Dhaka, this is going to show you some error. Check it. Run this code, create a tuple by yourself, and try to use this item assignment operation and see if it is working or not. Okay, this was our third, the item assignment. So this is working for our list. Okay, we could assign some new element to this, but when you have a tuple like this way, you cannot do that. Give it a check.
Yes, sir, it shows type error.
Not allowed, right? It
Yes,
is
sir.
giving you an error. Error message is
Type
something
error.
like item assignment is not allowed, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is called immutable. Immutable means once you have created it, okay, you cannot change it anymore. Okay, this is fixed. Okay, that's why it is called immutable. So you cannot assign item to it. Now, if you check directory of T, okay, and if you check directory of T, so if I go to tuple, so tuple, and you see after this one, only two methods are there. One is count, another one is index. Index show you the index of an element. It does not change the tuple. And the another one is count. Count shows that how many times a particular element appeared in that tuple. Okay, so you can see there is no method available to change the list and change the tuple that we have created. Okay, that's one of the basic, very fundamental things of tuple. You cannot do those things. You cannot add item assignment, not allowed. Add item, you cannot add any item to it. You cannot even delete item from it. Okay, this is like a completely immutable object. Okay, so you can ask this question, then why do we need tuple? Okay, so why do we need tuple? So as it does not support any functionalities like those things or mutable properties, so when you need something fixed size, fixed things that you don't need to change, that is when you use tuple. For instance, when you use data frame, let's say size of a data, you have a data frame, the size of the data will come like this way. For instance, 150, there's 150 samples and 10 attributes. Okay. Now this data size is fixed. And this is something you just want to, this is a property. Okay. You don't change the property. This is a fixed property of the data. If you change the data, property will change. But you don't need to change here anything. Okay. The property is fixed. So that's why it does not come as a list. It comes as a tuple. And the benefit from it is something a bit more abstract. Let me give you an abstract idea. When you create a list, you are assigning some memory allocation. Memory is allocated. Okay. Some memory is allocated for that list. Okay. Now, when you create this list, it has to keep some flexibility. Flexibility is like anytime you can ask to increase the size of the list. The size of the list can also decrease at any time. Okay. So that flexibility, that you might need more memory space, that flexibility has to be kept inside the list when you create list. Okay. So you have to add like more memory location, you have to allocate more memory when you actually create a list to have that flexibility. Okay. But when you have a tuple, when you create a tuple, the size is fixed. Once you create the tuple, the size in the memory location is not going to change. So you can have fixed memory. Okay, this gives it much more less memory space required. So you have fixed, so it has less space required. So that's why when you have when you create tuple, when you don't need anything changed, you use the tuple to reduce the space requirement for your code, as well as make your code a little bit faster. Okay, this kind of processing requires some time, more time. You have to keep that flexibility, but tuple does not have those things. So tuple is much faster to operate. Just to show you something or like this. Any question? Is it clear? কারো কোনো question? Everyone understood this portion?
Yes, sir.
If you don't understand it, let me know. So this is where our tuple is okay. So there is not much we can do with tuple, just the same. Okay, we can see those things, the basic things that we have. Now, before we move forward, one thing we have to be careful about, this is called alias. Okay. This is interesting. Just try to understand it very carefully. And this is important, otherwise we'll make mistakes. Okay. What is alias? Let's see. I create an array like this way. I create an array like this way. For instance, I have created an alias. I have created an array like this. Okay, a list. Okay. Now, in the next line, I do like this way. B is equals to A. So I have used B equals to A. So what should be my B now? এখন আমার B কি হয়ে যাবে? My B would be same, whatever A was. Okay, just the same, because I have said B is equals to A. Now let's say in the next line, I try to do something like I want to append something, A dot append. I want to add some item to it. Okay. Okay. So what should be the app? A now. এখন কি হয়ে যাবে? So A will have now first element, second element, third element, and fourth element. This series will be appended to your array A, right? ঠিক আছে?
Yes, sir.
Yes. But now check, if you have created something like this, now check what has happened to B. I have not done anything to B. So B should be like this, right? Just the previous
Yes, sir.
version. But
Yes,
check
sir.
whether it is remaining the previous version or B is also changed.
B is also changed.
Can I change the law? Everyone, please give it a try because it will fix it in your memory very clearly. I have not touched B. আমি B তে কোনো কিছু I have not applied any method on B. I have just said that B is equals to A. Then I have changed A, but I have not do anything to B. Then why B change? Are you guys following?
Sir, is this because B দিয়েও same memory location টাই refer করতেছে, so A তে change করলে আমার B তেও change হচ্ছে, এরকম কিছু?
Yes, that's why that's called the alias problem. So সবার কি আসছে জিনিসটা যারা কোড করতেছো?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the problem is something, this is the problem, if you are saying. So I have given you the example, I think here. Yes, you see, I had first, I had A, then I had B is equals to A, this line. Then I appended something with A, and A has changed. But B is also changed. Okay. I did not do anything to B, but B is also changed. Okay. This is called alias problem. And because when I first started writing Python, I knew MATLAB very well, but I didn't know Python. So when I first started, I didn't knew about this alias problem. And there are some errors. I was using this sign frequently and everything is lost. I did not understand my mistake. So this is something very inside, deep inside your Python. That is, when you do something like this, A is equals to B, this equal sign, you have to be very careful. We don't use equal sign so frequently in Python. Equal means not just the value, but also the memory location. Okay. So when you have created A memory location is assigned to it. But when you use this B sign, A is equals to B, B is also allocated the same memory location. It is pointed towards the same location. So in the next step, let's say you have changed A to something, but B also holds the same memory location. So that's why B is also changed. Is it clear? Everyone, is it clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So those who are not actually concentrating in the class, make sure you actually after that you make sure you go through the video lecture very carefully, because if you don't properly understand Python now, in the next 2 or 3 labs you will have very difficulty. Okay. Now, how to get out of this problem? How to get out of this problem? So The solution of this is we don't use this one. If I want a duplicate of something like A, we have a built-in function. We have seen previously in the directory, there was a function called copy. So if I write B is equals to, let's put something different. If I write, let's say C is equals to A dot copy, okay, then you modify A dot append, okay, modify something dot dot dot, append something. A will change, but C is not going to change anymore. Okay. The copy, this copy function, this creates a shallow copy. Okay. It only sends the values of A to C, but a different memory location. That's why C will not be updated anymore. If you update A, C will not be updated. Okay. Is it clear? Any question?
Yeah.
No,
So,
You can see. Yes, any question?
so the fact that B is in the same memory locations as A, does it mean that when we overwrote B, we overwrote A by writing B in the same memory location?
Yes. If you change B, if you like B dot append something, if you change append something to B, E is also going to change. It works both ways.
Okay.
Okay. Both actually sharing the same location. So either one of them you append, both will change.
So
It should.
understood.
It should. By default, it should. You should try it in your program. I have to check whether it changes or not. So far, I
Okay,
can tell it should change.
Understood, sir. Thank you.
B is equals to A. Let's see if it changes or not. B is equals to A. Now this is my B. Let's say B dot append labels. Show labels. So now this is my B and this is my A. Yeah, both will change. It goes both ways. Okay. Any questions so far? So if you add something to B, A will also change. So you have seen two primary data structure. The first one was your list. Okay, you have seen list. You have seen tuple, and then we have seen the alias problem. Okay. Now I'm going to give you a small task. Okay. The third one is string. Okay. Now you have the lab manual. Okay. Look at the lab manual. The strings are exactly the same. And the indexing is the same, slicing is the same, and string is also immutable. So you cannot change anything. But string actually provides a lot of different functionalities. If you write directory of string, create a string and this, you can see lots of different function here. I have shown you one or two. But now what is your task is create a string by yourself, create a string and try to apply some of this function. 3 or 4 function, not just lower and upper, some others. Okay. Try to apply 3 or 4 functions, take a screenshot of your code and share it in the Zoom. Okay, share it in Zoom. Is it clear?
Yeah.
I'm going to give you 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, create a string by yourself, create a string by yourself. Then try to apply some of those functions. Try to see how to work with a string and apply some of those functions, the method that you have, and take a screenshot and just apply it and submit it in the comment section. Okay, I'm going to return within a couple of minutes. So, anyone have any problem? Anyone face any problem? Alhamdulillah. 316. Try something more. Okay, not just simple easy space, things like that. Something more like split, strip, things like that. আবার আপার আর লোয়ার ছাড়া আর কিছু করা যায় না?
So
T22.
do we send the screenshots in the chat?
Yeah, just send those things in the chat. এই যে 312 এত প্রিন্ট দেখতে দেখতেই তো তোমার সব কাজ শেষ হয়ে টাইম শেষ হয়ে যাবে। আর এই কেস সোয়াইপ করে কিছু হবে না। There are many interesting functions in strings. Okay, try that. Try those things. এই যে এটাকে 240 you are writing the function, it is not showing anything because you are not putting any parenthesis after the method. You have written s.encode, s.strip, split, but without parenthesis it's not going to show you anything. That was one of the condition, right? I clearly mentioned a little bit earlier. You must put a parenthesis after your string. এই আপার লোয়ার দিয়ে হবে না। And split. Acha, this one. Split. Now this is a function. If you try, split will by default. Okay. Try to split the sentence, whatever string that you have on the white space characters. Okay. You can also change it. You can also change it by yourself. Replace. Yeah, you can do something like replace. You can replace something inside using another one. Okay, it will require 2 arguments. Okay. Try something more. So if you check this one, so you can see there are lots of different functions that are available. You can actually do. So is door upper, but string does not support item assignment. Okay. Now, if you say, for instance, if I create a string here, okay, so I have something like this. Now, s.split. First of all, you have to use a parenthesis after the method to run it. Now you can see by default, this is splitting everything in the white space character that you have. Okay, it is splitting anything in the white space character and putting everything inside a list. And like I can also do something like this: split at where I want to split. Let's say whenever it finds E, split. A little bit odd, but now that you can see I have something like this. Whenever I have E, it is going to split it there. It works like this way. I can also item replace. I can also replace something. Let's say I can. Oh, right. I can also replace some word. Let's say, for instance, here I have replaced it with king. So ring is now replaced with king. Okay. So first one, second one, 2 input arguments. Let's say If you do it like this way, now every occurrence of E that it finds, it is going to replace with this. It is going to be replaced with the asterisk sign, like this way. Okay, so there are lots of difference that you can do, but actually strings are actually there are many things you might have to do with a string if you are really working on a string problem. Okay, you have to do a lot of different things, and Python does not support everything that you have that we need to do with strings. So there are other libraries as well. For instance, a popular library is called regular expression. I'm not sure you have done it in MATLAB as well. Regular expression is a more effective way to handle strings. Okay, if you want to do something, there are lots of things that comes when you're actually dealing with string data. So for modifying those things, you need regular expression. Okay. Python has a separate library for this one, but we'll not cover this in our course. We don't need it for now. Achha. So this is about string. I hope you have some idea about how to work with string. And you have also seen that string is also immutable object. So an immutable object, that means you cannot change any item inside the string. Okay. Anything inside the string, it is immutable. Achha. Now, there is a shortcut of creating something. It comes from one of the class define. So let's say if you have a is equals to 2 and 5. If you want to add something, there is another way to add something. Let's say you want to add multiple items to it. Previously, I word in the append we used only one. If I want to add multiple items, so if I write a dot append, okay. Then the output is going to look like 2, 5, 10, 100. Am I right? The output should look like this. আসতেছে এরকম? Is it coming this way? তো চেক করলাম।
Yes, sir.
So if you append like this way, the entire list will be appended. So yeah, it's like whatever you put inside append, that is going to be added. So you are putting everything, but what I actually want is something like this: 2, 5, 10, 100. I want to increase the items. So what can I do then? A simple way to do that would be like this. Just this one. This is going to return you this. Just a plus sign. Okay, a plus sign changes it, but here is a catch. This does not update A. This will not update A. So you have to do like B is equals to this, then you will have something like this, then you get this. Okay, this is not a method. This plus sign is not a method. This is just adding some element to it. That's a different than that. So you can use the plus sign to add items to the list as list. You can also do it to add items to a string. Let's say I have x equals to LCM. So if I write y is equals to x plus height hour, okay, you have LCM height hour appended in a single string. So it works for your both your list as well as the string as well. This is a like a shortcut that you can use to do in some cases. It will not work for tuple. Achha. Any question? Any question? Achha, let's come back again. Let's start again. So we have started with some of the basic function, some of the basic data structure, and we have seen list, we have seen tuple, we have seen string. Okay, we have one left that is called dictionary. Let's see what is how to create a dictionary. Achha. You have seen what is a dictionary. I believe you understand. When you have relational argument, relation between two elements, I have to show, then dictionary, multiple elements, then dictionary becomes much more easier way to represent data. Let's create a dictionary, John. Okay. we start with a parenthesis. Okay. Now let's say the name, then a colon. The colon stands for the key value pair. This is the key. These are the keys. Okay. And after the colon, I place the values. So let's say name is Jon Snow. Then let's say family. Now here, a dictionary can also contain not just only string, it can also contain another list. It can also contain a tuple. So family, let's say for instance, Stark, spoiler alert. Okay. And it should be ended with a comma. Everything should finish with a comma. Every key value pair should finish with a comma. So you have name, family, let's say age. Now age is 25. So now the value can also be a numeric value. Okay. And dictionary, the key value can also be a numeric value. Okay. So let's say 0. Okay, 0. So the key can also be numeric value. So it works both ways. And 0 is his knowledge. Okay, let's see. So because Jon Snow knows nothing. Okay, so you put everything inside parentheses. Now you create a dictionary like this way. Okay, is it clear how we create a dictionary? So everything that you have related to a particular, let's say, particular object like say, and you can represent all the properties like this way using a dictionary. And that's something what we do actually. Any question? কারো কোনো question? আচ্ছা. So now when it comes to dictionary, the numerical indexing, previously we have seen indexing works for string, tuple, everything, but numerical indexing no longer works for dictionary. Okay, numerical indexing does not work for dictionary. You have to work differently. So if you want to get something, you have to call those things using key value pair. So a third bracket, let's say if I call this key age, this is going to return 25. So you index in case of dictionary, you index using the keys, the key that you have. Okay, not the values, not numerical indexing, but the keys. Okay, so numerical indexing দিয়ে হবে না, value দিয়ে হবে না, এটা indexing করার জন্য তোমার লাগবে key. So you will need keys to index items from a dictionary. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Now, there are lots of things we can actually do it in string dictionary, and you will see later the benefit of using dictionary. But for now, just understand the syntax. Now, if you write directory of John, you will see some of the methods that are available. If I come back here, so strings yellow dictionary. So if you write dictionary.keys, it is going to return a dictionary key type data variable data type, and even inside you can have all the keys that you have. Okay, so if I write dictionary, sorry, John.keys. Okay, so it is going to give you all the keys. In object type is not a list, but a dictionary list type. So you can put it like this, where list of this, it is going to put everything inside a list. Okay, so this is one of the things I actually forget to mention. So if you have like a of equals to 2,5, if you write tuple of a, this is going to make it 2,5, a tuple. Okay, these are keywords. Tuple is a keyword, list is a keyword. You can convert the data type using this way. Okay, so I forgot to mention it earlier. So you can see if you look at the functions that you have the copy function, just as before. It also have the alias problem. If you need to copy it, shallow copy, you can do it like this way. Then you have items, then keys, then pop item. If you want to pop something, pop an item from the dictionary, you can use it. So very basic functionalities are there, and this is enough. We just need dictionary to represent data when it comes. We'll see in third or fourth lab how to use dictionary. Achha. Now, I think this is okay. And we are going to use it again in data frame. In the next lab, in the data frame, we are going to use it again. So with this one, I believe you have all the understanding of the data structures that you have. These are the very common data structures that are available in Python. Okay. So, and try to practice a little bit in your home. Okay, definitely practice in your home, and it should be okay. See how what you can do with the different data structures and what to do. Achha. Now, next we are going to see some of the very common things, three common things. The first one is a function. Okay, first one is a function. Achha. You're already familiar with how to create a function in MATLAB. And we don't need to go deeper into creating function, just the basics of it. If you need to keep a function, create a function, it is very simple. You start with the keyword def, definition. This is the keyword for function in Python. In MATLAB, the keyword was function, but in Python, the keyword is definition. So definition, then you write inside, you write the function name. You have to give it a name, whatever name you want to give. Okay. Then inside, you have the input parameters. You can have one parameters, two parameters, like this way, input parameters. Then you put a colon there. Okay, this is your first line. This is the definition line. You put a function name and with some input parameters. Then you put your statements here, whatever the relation that you need. And you end it with another keyword, return. Return, then you should have the output parameters here. After the return, whatever the output parameter that you want to return, you should add it like this way. So this is the like the structure of creating a function in Python. Let me show you an example. For instance, if I create definition, let's say my function 0, 1, my input parameter is a comma b. Okay, I want to create, like, say, c is equals to twice a plus thrice b. Okay, and I return this variable c. Okay, so if I call this function my function, so this is my function statement. I have saved it. Okay, you can save it in a cell. When you save it in a cell, the whole thing should be inside one cell. Okay, or you can save it in a py.py. Now, if I want to call it, let's say if I call it later in a different cell, I can go my function 0, 1. If I call it as, let's say 5, 10, it is going to return 5 10 50, 3 10 30, 5 2 10, sorry, 5 2 10, 3 10 30, 40. It is going to return 40. Is it okay? Is the concept clear how to create a function?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so try to create a function by yourself in your notebook. Okay. I know it is getting late. We'll need a little bit more, 10 minutes. Try to write a function by yourself. Very simple function, just to get the practice. Okay. Now, while you do that, let me do something. These are local variable. Local variable means you only use those things inside the function that you have. Okay. And you can also return multiple arguments like this way. C comma D. D is equals to C modulo 3. So this is the modulo sign, the modulo operator, percentage sign. You can also return multiple items. Now, if you want multiple arguments, like in MATLAB, you have also worked with Varargin, things like that. So there are ways to do those things inside, incorporate those things inside the function input. But for now, you don't need it. Okay. Later, if you need it, I will show you how to include those things in your function definition. Okay. Any question? Any question? If you have created a function, please take a screenshot and upload it in the comment section. Quickly. Do it quickly. Yes, you don't need to write print. Okay. I did 302. Don't need to write print. If you just write two value 3,2, the cell is by default printing everything that you show. Okay, it is going to print everything by default. You don't need to write print specifically. If you have multiple commands in a single cell, then you have to write print to show both of them. When you have multiple command, it is going to show the last one. Okay, so it's better to put everything in different cells, and that's it. Okay, let's try to create a function like this way. Return, yeah, you can write it. Okay, so I believe, okay, all of you result. I believe you got some idea how to get multiple input arguments, multiple output arguments, things like that. And the concept of function, it should be clear to you from your MATLAB course you had previously. Okay, I'm not going to repeat those things, how to create a function, those things, those are very basics. Okay, I'm just going to show you how to create those things in Python. If you have to know how to create a function, what does function represent, you can actually see some of my lectures available in the YouTube. Okay, in MATLAB, I have discussed everything, different types of functions. You can see those things. We don't have time to actually cover those things. Achha. So we have seen function. Let's move on. Then you have conditional statements. Also, now this is also, you already know. I am just going to show you the syntax. Okay, you already have the idea. The syntax is very simple. You will start with if. If here you have a statement is true, your statement. If this, and then a colon. Okay, so it is like if this statement is true. Okay, so if this is true, then whatever you have here, this is going to run. This is going to be execute this. Okay, this is the statement. So then you have, if it is not true, then you go to the next condition. We use else if, in short, elif. That's the difference. Only the difference is this. Elif, then you have another statement. It should be a conditional statement. Then if elif this statement is true, you run this. Okay, you can have another elif, else if, then you have your statement, then run this like this way. And finally, you can have something else. Then you can have your final statement. So it will go sequentially. If this is true, it is going to run this. If it is not going to, it is going to run this, then this, otherwise this. So this is the statement. If elif, okay, then ifs. You can have as many conditions as you want. Now, I have already shown you these things in your the lab manual that I have provided. If you face any problems, you can definitely look into those things. Okay. If I go to 1.2, this is the part 2. The second part. So this is the conditional statement. I have also given you some examples for you to understand. So it should not be very difficult. So you can just check how to use this elif or things like that. Okay, you already know the conditional statement, and the rest of the things are just as same as before. Acha. Now let me show you another thing. Libraries. Acha. Previously, I have told you that there are many actually Python actually offers many different libraries. Now the libraries are designed for a specific purposes. Like if you want to write your code, only your code, just basic code, some of the things you might have to write 1,000 lines of code. Let's say for if you want to define a machine learning model, decision tree, very simple. But even to apply those decision tree, very simple, you have to write 1,000 lines of code, 2,000 lines of code. That makes it very difficult to like replicate. Okay, so there are different Python libraries available that are addition to Python, but supported by the Python language. Okay, they are written in Python program. So those libraries, you can just do all those things in using just one line of code. Okay, let me show it here. Okay. Uh, libraries. Now, Python libraries actually, let's say if you have to write 1000 line of code, instead of that, of random forest model, there is a library that is called scikit-learn. In short, sklearn. There is a function that is called random forest classifier. Okay. Function defined for you. Okay. It's like user defined function by some other entity. They have defined those functions and supplied the code inside this library. So you can just
Sir,
write.
your screen is not visible.
Oh, sorry. Let me share this screen. So instead of writing like 1000, 2000 lines of code for a model, you can just write everything just within a single line of code, one line, and that is enough. So that makes everything very easier and less time consuming, and you can more focus on application rather than your original coding. So that's why I said that you don't have to have a lot of knowledge of Python. Just basic working knowledge will be enough to actually use it in your in these cases. Okay. So there are many different libraries for different tasks. So for like hundreds of different libraries are there. The ones that we knew particularly, one is NumPy, the NumPy array, because you see the list that we have, the list object, it is very limited, constrained. It does not support many functions. MATLAB's matrix actually offers hundreds of different functions. So we have this NumPy array that actually offers that much flexibility. So this is something we are going to need. Next, we have called pandas. The pandas is to work with data. Whenever you work with like an Excel file, it comes in an Excel file, you have some data using a table. So in Python, we have data frame that I have already mentioned. So pandas actually supports that data frame. Pandas is designed that data frame. So we will use this library for those purposes. Let's say plotting. You need a library for called matplotlib. Okay. The library is actually defined. You can see in my files. So the first term is mat. It is actually comes from MATLAB. Okay. The similar author, the author actually who actually designed this, designed it exactly the same as MATLAB works, MATLAB visualization works. So we have the library matplotlib. There are other libraries for visualization as well. For instance, Seaborn, something we are going to use, Seaborn. This offers much more aesthetic visualization. So Seaborn is much better, but Matplotlib is the basic library for visualization. Then for other tasks, let's say scikit-learn is for when you have when you work with machine learning models, you need scikit-learn. There are different machine learning models when you have IMB-learn or imbalance learning. That is a scenario that we'll see later. Okay, there are many different functions. Then also, if you want to work with, let's say, wave scraping, you have something that is called a beautiful soup. Interesting. Then if you want to work with deep learning models, you will learn later. Deep learning is a very specific or machine learning when you use neural networks. You have libraries like TensorFlow, then PyTorch, Lasagna, things like that. Okay, there are hundreds of different libraries. These are very popular libraries and very big libraries. Okay, whatever you have seen in Python, 100 times more larger. This library itself are 100 times more larger than those things. Okay, so these are specifically designed for those purposes. You can see some summary of those things here. I have mentioned some of the common libraries. You can see if you want to get GUI, you have pkinter, and there are other PyQt, things like that for GUI. Achha. For mostly, we'll work with NumPy, pandas, and scikit-learn mostly. Okay. Now, how to import these libraries? This is one thing. Importing. Achha. So some of the libraries that you're using you have to install it. It is very simple. Pip install the library name, whatever library you want to install. It is very simple. Most of the libraries you already find. If you do not find, you have to install it. The command is already given. If you like go to TensorFlow, they will show you what is the command to install the library in your Anaconda. You can just do it directly. And importing the library is why is because these libraries are separate from your Python programming, the Python language. So when you want to import those things, you have to, like, let's say, let me give an example. there is a function called power, okay, or logarithmic function, logarithm, or let's say কি আছে factorial. Okay, so these are numerical functions that does not offer that are not offered by the basic Python programming. So there is a library in Python that is called math library. Now in the math library there is a function called pow. But if I want to use it, let's say pow 2,10, 2 to the that means 2 to the power 10, I will not be able to use it because pow is not in your original Python. So what do you have to do? I have to import the library first. So I will write like this way. This is the first way to do it. Import math. If you run this command, it is going to import the math library in your notebook. Okay, it should be installed. I think it is already installed by default. So if you import math, so math library and all these functions are imported, okay, in your local space. Then if I want to use, then I can call in that directory. It's like going to that file. So math.pow 2,10. Now it is going to give you the answer. Okay, if you try it, you can actually, it should work right now. Okay, so it's like this is the path you are defining. So this is the path you have to define. So pow, where does this pow function comes from? So from the math library, and first you have to import the library. So math.pow, this is one way to do it. Is it clear? আমার কথা কি বোঝা যাচ্ছে? আচ্ছা, now there are other ways to do it. If you like very specifically want to do it, you can say from math import pow. So then it is going to import this power function into your workspace directly, because you are saying that from this math library that is already installed in your engine, from this library import me this function. Then you can write pow 2,10, and this is going to also work. And this is also going to work. Okay, this is another way to do it. Another approach to do it would be from math import this asterisk sign. This asterisk sign stands for all functions. So when you write this asterisk signs, all the methods that are actually there in the math library will be imported in your workspace. And this is fine. This makes it very simple. But you see, some of the libraries are very big. And if you import all the functions in your directory, it is going to overload your directory in local space. So you should not use it. Most of the times you should not use it, unless it is very specific. Okay, so some of the libraries can have multiple states, like from sklearn, that is scikit-learn dot matrix. That's like within a directory inside another directory. Then import all the metrics. You will see these things in third or fourth lab. So this is something I can do. Okay, so these are the ways you can actually import functions from a library that you want to use. So if you want to use a library like SciPy, okay, or NumPy, you can actually use this way to import something. And one last thing, one small thing, and sometimes we use like import NumPy. We use this keyword as np to short form it, to use a short form using an alias. Okay, now next, if I want to call a function, I can just write np.this, np dot something like this, then it will work. So it is like using a short form. So NumPy we use np, for pandas we use pd, for scikit-learn we use sklearn to make it short, for matplotlib.pyplot we use plt. So there is a short form. This is not defined. You are defined as you comfortable, as you see comfortable, but these things are like very common use. So for pandas pd, everyone can understand that this actually stands for pandas library. So it is better to use whatever the common approaches, so that everyone can understand your code. Okay, so these are the libraries that you have, and we are going to see some of the use of these libraries in the next lab. I missed one thing, one small thing. For loop, this is the last topic. Now for loop works like this. It is also very simple. As MATLAB, you already know how to write a for loop. One thing is different here. Let's say you have this a is equals to 2, 3, 10, 20, 5, 7. Okay, answer. Some negative. -20, -10 দিলাম, দুইটা মাইনাস করে দিলাম, দুইটা নেগেটিভ নাও। Now the for loop, keyword for loop is also for I. It is the iterator variable. In MATLAB, if we look at MATLAB, we used to write something like this way. For I is equals to 1 is to let's say n, or length of a. Okay, let's say a of I. Let's say if a of I is less than 0, do something like this, then n. Okay, we used to use something like this in MATLAB. This was for your MATLAB. Okay. Now in Python, things are a little bit different. The standard approach is for I in. Okay, we use something called in a, then this sign. We don't have an in statement. You have the statement after this, whatever you want to do it, like this way. And here, this I, the iterator variable, this is what we call the iterator variable. This is your iterator object. Okay, I in a, and this I is going to hold these values directly. It is going to hold these values directly. So when you write first, let's say the first run, when I in a, the first iteration, I is going to be 2. You are not using indexing to extract the elements, just like you had done it. You use indexing in MATLAB, but in Python you can directly take the elements from the iterator object. So I directly takes 2, then 3, then I becomes -10, like this way. So this is the difference. Okay, when you write a loop, I think it is much more easier. It makes it much more easier. You can directly extract the elements from the iterator object using these things, using for loop like this way. So use for I in this, then whatever you want to do, the statement you want to do, whatever you want to do, you can do it like this way. This is one way. And if you have to, let's say for instance, for sometimes you need the index, you can do like this way. For I in range, let's say range of 5. Then this range will actually, inside range will create, like, think of it like this way, a range object, but a list like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, upper value exclusive. So it will create a list. So then you can actually have a of I like this way. If you want to do it, if you want indexing, numerical indexing, you can use the range function to do it. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Acha. So this is, I think I have given you some examples here. If you look at here, this is screen. So if you look at here, some numerical examples, some of the examples are already given here. Okay, how to create a loop, how to create a conditional statement. You can also have a nested loop like this way, and how to use range. And I have also given you 2 examples. Let's see, if I want to find the positive, even numbers and odd numbers, and put everything inside the inside the list like this way. And also how to create a Fibonacci sequence. One is using the directly assigning, extracting the elements. One is using the range, the indexer. So try to practice those things by yourself. And assignment is always also provided. You'll see in the lab assignment, you can find the questions there. I think there are 10 or 12 questions. Practice those things as well. Okay, any question? Also while loop, same thing. It is also works the same way. Just like you have seen previously, it also works the same way, the same condition. If you do you have any questions, anyone? কার কোনো question আছে? আচ্ছা, if you don't have any question, the last topic is class, but this is not compulsory for everyone since it has already become very late. If you want to leave, you can leave now. I'm going to discuss for 5 more minutes the class topic. Okay, Python class. This is an important thing, but it is not compulsory, because without knowing class, you can also work Python class. Okay, so if you want to leave, if you are feeling sleepy, if you want to read, just write your student ID in the comment section and you can leave. Okay. If you have any question, let me know. Now, the last thing, Python class. So what is Python class? Now, you see, this is very important to understand. Python is an object-oriented programming language. You probably has heard the term OOP. Okay, this is called object-oriented programming. You had a course, object-oriented programming, in your undergraduate, an optional course, but unfortunately that course is not offered right now. Hopefully this course will become compulsory in some of the next one or next year. Now, object-oriented programming is very important because this is something that is widely used, this concept. Now, object-oriented programming, so Python is an object-oriented programming language. So what does it mean is that whatever you do, you are actually creating an object. Okay. So let's say, for instance, when I have created a is equals to 2, 10, I have created a list. So it's like I have created a list object. Okay. In another way, a common way, simple object. So when I created a string, let's say b is equals to Bruce. So I have created a string object. So whenever I create something like this way, I am creating an object. Now, another way to say is like this way. I have created this b is an instance of the class list. Okay. So think of it like this way. That means that the a that I have, this list, this is an instance, like an instance of the class, of a class list. So list is actually a class. Okay. Or string is actually a class. The code is written by the Python programmers. The Python developers actually develop that code. And these are actually, we are creating some instance of it. So this is like, so this class that we have, so class is like the blueprint. Okay. Class is like the blueprint. So for instance, you can have a blueprint of a floor plan. Okay. And you can actually create different buildings. You can design the buildings different way. Okay. It depends on you. Let me give you an example. Let's say you have an object. Let's say you have an object, apple. Okay. Now, apple has some properties. What can be the property? For instance, color is a property. So the color, let's say, for instance, the apple I have right now, let's say green color. The second one is, let's say, weight. The weight of the apple, say, for instance, 0.2 kilogram. So these are property of the object apple. Okay, this is one thing. Now, there can also be some methods, something that we can actually do with my apple. For instance, one method can be, I can make apple juice. I can make a juice from that fruit, apple. Okay, I can make an apple juice. I can slice it. So if I slice it into different pieces to it. That can be one thing. I can also throw my apple at another one. Okay, so these are like some of the things that we can do with the object apple. Okay, so this is the object that we have. Okay, so the object apple, it can have some properties, and there can be some methods that we can actually do with it. Okay. So it's similarly, it's like the list that we had. So when you had created a list, it also had some properties. The properties like it has a particular length, and it is defined by these third brackets. Okay, it can also have some methods like I had seen that append, then index. There are different functions available. So list was just like an object like this that you have created an instance, and it had some properties and some methods. Now, you can ask this question: if I have another object, let's say another apple, apple 2, another apple, but it has a different color. The property can be different. Let's say this is a red apple. It has 0.3 kg, but you can make juice of it. You can slice it. You can throw it like this way. Okay, so it is a separate object. So this is your object 1. This is your object 2. So that's why you have, this is one instance of the object. This is another instance. And what is the category? What is the overall category? The overall category is the fruit. And this is my class. So fruit is my class. The fruit is the class that can have, when you say I create a class fruit, this any fruit that we have will have these properties. And the properties are, it can have some color, it can have some weight. And these are all the fruits that we have will have definitely have these properties, two properties. Also, it can have some methods. The methods are like, let's say juice is one, you can make juice from the fruits, you can slice them, you can throw it someone else, okay, like this way. So this is like the class that we have, fruit class, okay. And the fruit class, one instance of the class fruit is an apple. Another instance of the class is a different apple. Another instance can be, let's say, for instance, a jackfruit, kathal, okay, jackfruit. It can also have some color, let's say yellow. It weighs, let's say, 1 kg. It has some properties. Also, it can have some methods. I can make juice from it. Okay, let's say kathal juice. Okay, I can slice it, of course, but I cannot throw it. Okay, so it does not mean just because you have an instance of the object does not mean it has to support all the methods. So this is something called method overriding. You will see some of the example I have already given. So it does not necessarily have to follow all the methods. If you want to overload some methods, it can also possible. But overall, any object of the class fruit will have the same properties that we have actually defined. So this is like something I have defined, class fruit. So any instance that you create will have those properties, will have those methods. Similarly, if I create a different one, let's say another class, the class is flower. The class is flower. Now the flower will have some different properties. It will have the properties color, but we don't actually weight flowers. Let's say we can say scent. That's the different property. And the methods that are available for the flower will be different. So we don't actually eat flowers, so we don't make juice of it. So the color, the different can be, the methods can be, let's say, we can make oil from it. It's the sunflower oil, things like that. We can also gift it to someone else. So the methods will be different. So the class that you have, let's say apple, will follow the class that we create. So it should be an instance of the class fruit. And if we have a rose, it will be instance of the class flower. So this is the concept of class. Just like your practical example that you are trying to understand, the same thing actually goes this way. So whenever I have created previously a list, like I have defined something like this way, I have actually by default, whenever I use this sign, by default, I have created an instance of the class list. Whenever I created like this way, using this parent curly braces, I have created an instance of the class dictionary. And the properties of the dictionary and the methods of the dictionary are fixed by the programmer. That is what you have seen. When you have seen directory of the dictionary, first you have seen something like this written here. These are the default parameters that is always have. And then you have some methods that you can do with it. That's where these things actually coming from. Okay, so these are the very basic idea of class. And if you look at here, if you look at here, so in the Python class, so I have defined those things. I have given you many examples. So this is the idea of class and object in Python. And you can also have a class and object by yourself. So if you want to write a program by yourself, later you will see. If you need to write a program by yourself, you can actually define a class. Okay, you define a class because that makes it, anyone can create an object from it. So instead of functional programming that we have seen in MATLAB, Python actually relies on object-oriented programming. So you have to create a class to do it. Okay. Now, for basic works, for fundamental works, that's fine. You don't have to create a class. You can work with functional programming for now. But if you are interested to go deeper, you should actually work with classes. Okay. Some of the examples how to create a class I have given here, different examples. So I have created a class of wolf. And you can see wolf 1, wolf 2, wolf 3, like this way, different classes are there. If you want to try, you can actually see it, and I believe it should be clear. Everything is discussed here. And you see one thing I show you, one thing I want to show you see this init function, initialization, and you see this underscores here. So this is something you have seen previously when you actually call the directory of some of the methods. You are seeing some of these underscores. So this is called constructor. When you create a class, you create a constructor, and those constructor was actually there. Okay. So we can discuss more of those things, but for now you don't need it. So just to give some example, just to give you some idea of the class, Python class, I hope you have the idea. And if you have any question, let me know. So this is all your lab 1. Okay, I hope by this lab you have the basic understanding of Python programming language. So definitely when you go home after today, and definitely try to practice those courses that you have seen and practice the assignment that I have provided by yourself. Don't copy from others, try to do it by yourself and write it in the notebook, not .py file, in the notebook, and provide the notebook, upload the notebook in the Google Classroom. Okay, so this is the end of your class. If you have any question, let me know. Any question? Okay, if no question, then we can end this